All right. Okay, we're gonna record. Let me see if I can go. Well, welcome everyone to our first monthly listening session. For those of you who are just joining in and chiming in, I would love to, once again, if this is your first time attending a live session, whether it's a live Q&A or listening session like this, would you just please let me know again in the chat room? Just type the number 1. I'd love to personally welcome you to Beat Academy. I wanna also just welcome you to this. Hey Richard, hey Alex, Jaime, Andres, good to see you guys. Will, Pate, great seeing you guys. Make sure that you click the chat button on the bottom of your screen, and make sure in the bottom right-hand corner where it says to in colon, just make sure you select all panelists and attendees. That way your chat will be evident for everybody to see. I can read it, I can see it. Now, if you have questions, which we'll get to at the end of our listening session today, if you have questions, just don't bombard me with the questions now. If you have questions, just go ahead and hit the Q&A tab on the bottom of your screen. And once you do that, you'll be able to submit your questions in there. I will be able to look at it. It's going to be a much better format that I can easily catch everybody's questions. That way it doesn't get lost in the chat. This is a good format to make sure I get everybody's questions, and I'll be able to chime in there. But I will let you know when the time is right to submit your questions, all right? So what you want to do is maybe have them on a notepad or something, some other platform. Type your question there and just copy and paste it when the time is right. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with some listening sessions. I'm going to go ahead and go through the 3 songs that I've chosen, and then I go into the 3 songs that I've selected randomly. And I know we've had a lot of amazing submissions, over almost close to 80 submissions. So I'm excited. I'm truly excited. And if your song didn't get chosen, feel free to just reinsert it to our next monthly listening session. I'd be more than happy to go through it. And I do my best to actually go through the whole thing. I spent all night just going through all the selections. So I do get to hear them. And every now and then, if I can, even in the forum, I'll try to give my feedback. I'm trying to do as much as I can to serve you guys. Here's one thing before we get started. Another big reason as to why I'm switching to this format, we're using Zoom, is so that I can give you guys the best quality when listening to the music. Also, I'm going to start having some future guests. I'm going to have some featured guests, some well-known producers. I'm going to have Ness as our first guest producer. He produced on Drake, Cardi B. He's been doing some amazing stuff right now. I want him to share his story, but I also want to have some guest feature where they can actually hear your music as well. And the both of us are giving you feedback. Let me know in the chat if this is something you guys, if this is a good idea. I mean, I could cancel it all together, but if you guys think this is a good idea, yeah. So I'll be having guys like my friend Ill Mind. He's going to be jumping on board. Guys like Ness. We're going to have Danger Hands on here again. So I think this is a really cool format where the both of us can kind of like chime in, listen to what you got going on, and give both of our feedback. So it's the perk of being a member. All right. How long will the live be? Well, I'll try to wrap it up for at least an hour or so. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. Maybe we do some breakdance fighting. Who knows? Let's dive right in. Okay, so just forgive me if there's any technical hangups while trying to get this going. So I'm going to, let's see here. I'm going to hit the share screen here, and I'm going to share the screen. Okay. So first up on our listening session is a song called Sadness by Lucio. I hope I'm saying that right. And let me see if I can just, I'm trying to, okay. I hope you guys can see this okay, right? You can see the chat. Let me see if I can, okay, there's the chat. All right, there it is. I was trying to find the chat. Here you go. Okay, can you guys see the screen? Can you let me know if you can see the SoundCloud page? Okay, I'm going to play a little bit of it, and you guys let me know if you can hear it okay. That's the most important part, right? So let me go ahead and do this.
They fall in the desert of my empty, so Tears are falling down.
Okay, so my voice is quiet. Okay, all right, good. So I'm just gonna give this a listen. That's fine. You guys shouldn't be able to hear me when it's playing. So I'm gonna give it a listen. We'll start from the top, and then I will walk through. You know, maybe give like until like a minute or so, and then once that's done, I'll stop, give my personal feedback, and maybe give you guys a moment to chime in as well. Okay, so we're going to get started. So let's do this, guys. Excited. So here we go.
Tears are falling down. They fall in the desert of my empty soul. The tears are falling down. I'm not able to stop them. The river is growing and growing. The river is growing and growing. Till I can't breathe anymore. That sadness is the only way I feel. That sadness. Should I change it? Let me dive into you.
All right, guys. So I know I'm going through the chat, reading, checking this out. So I've muted my mic completely. That way there isn't any phasing. I think the audio is going through. So just really quickly, it might have been, if it's hold on a second. Let me see. Bear with us, guys. Sorry, I hate for this. Let me share computer sound. Let me share. This is okay. I think. Let me give this one more time.
Tears are falling down. I'm not able to stop.
All right, so sorry about that, guys. I think I needed to click the share computer sound as well. Total fail on my part. Look, I'll send you guys some free octopus juice when we get this thing going. I know Golson wants some octopus juice. All right, just for the sake of let me just redo that one more time. I want to be fair to Luizo. I'll just start that, and then we're good to go from all here. All right, work it out. I'm just human. Here we are. Okay, here we go.
Tears are falling down. They fall in the desert of my empty soul. The tears are falling down. I'm not able to stop them. The river is growing and growing. The river is growing and growing. Till I can't breathe anymore. That sadness is the only way I feel. That sadness. Why should I change it? Sad sadness.
Okay, guys. I'm gonna go back on. Can you hear me? Okay. And do you guys see my screen as well? Am I still present? No? Yeah? Okay, good. Um, so now this is kind of like Luzio, if you're here. All right, so here's great vibe. I think all around really cool vibe. Definitely takes me to Sade, Dido, puts me in that headspace. So it's definitely in that vein. Here's one thing that I think. Now, obviously, there's going to be, and maybe even with a lot of things that we talk about today, there's going to be a lot of these nuances in the mixing and things like that, and that's fine. I want to focus on, because mixing could always be here, make a couple of adjustments, and even mixing itself is a musical approach as well. It's an objective thing. You know, I could want the snare a little bit louder, but maybe you really want the snare where it's at, so that's fine. Immediately what jumped out at me is vocal performance. And I don't know how much control you had over the melodic phrasing or the performance or even recording this artist. I'm not sure if this artist delivered, recorded it in their own studio and then sent it to you. So let's talk about melodic phrasing. And this is a really important thing. Timing is everything. All right. Timing is such a big thing, especially when it comes to vocal delivery. And when she jumps in around with that chorus at 118, it's important that but then you go into so you deviate from the actual melody. You don't create a nice healthy pocket melodic wise, melody wise. So you want to have a phrase that cements this is the chorus melody. This is what it is. You started that right at the beginning. And I'll play it right here for some. Let me dive inside. Why should I change it? That part there. Long darkness. Changing. Right? And then repeat that again. And then once you get that repeated again, you're now cementing that as here's this chorus melody. And then you can go into that, that little extended part there. I think, yeah, and mix-wise, vocals are sitting a little bit behind the time. I mean, not mix-wise, but like overall performance-wise, the vocals just a little behind the time there. I love the tone of her voice, real Sade, Dido-ish. Yeah, so obviously, you guys, if you want, you can click on the link. You can go back to the forum, check this out. But just off of my personal feedback and listening to it, you're definitely right off the gate. You wanna always focus on, you can kind of sacrifice a little bit of the sound quality of a vocal performance, but if you can capture the right performance, that's always going to trump that. Like I can forgive. Well, it sounds, she sounds a little harsh at 2K, or you can bring back. Well, that's a great point. If the song is released, what's the point of feedback? Well, here's the thing. I mean, you're going to continue taking that understanding in your next production. So as you produce another song, you're going to validate the value of, all right, let me learn from that. Let me make sure that I have a cemented vocal chorus locked into place. Let me be more attentive to my vocal timing. Let me make sure that the vocalist is, not a little behind the beat, but make sure finding and hitting the right pocket there. So it's something to consider when you're working with other talent. Sometimes as producers and beat makers, we tend to just say, well, here's a beat, you work on it, you do your thing, and then when I get it back, that should be it. So there you go. All right. I hope that works out, Luzio. Let me know if that makes any sense. So we're going to be doing 6 songs. All around, I think it's a great vibe, great track, Luzio. Interested in hearing more from you. So we're going to go to our next one. And our next one is Tom Warburton. And the song is called Cure. Cure. So let's just take this from here. Step.
trying to get over, trying to get over, trying to get over, trying to get over, trying to get on, trying to get on, trying to get over, 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 trying to get on, trying to get on, trying to get over, trying to get over, trying to get over, trying to get over, trying to get on, trying to get on, trying to get over, 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 trying to get on, trying to get on. Trying to say when the sun comes. When the sun goes down, I get this feeling that there is something missing. When I'm thinking it over, I conclude I'm missing you.
All right, so dude, great vibe. I mean, vibing with the two-step. But why did you wait so long to bring that girl in? She's dope. Like, you got me at 1 minute and 30 seconds. I'm getting this nice little angel coming in and doing her thing. She's got to creep in. Like, if you guys have just such a small window, now, this is for the purpose of reviewing this and going through, but you guys have to understand that, you know, just currently where we're at right now with commercially released music, you do have this small window for somebody who's stumbling across. Have this playlist mentality. If somebody's just jamming to a playlist in the background and somebody had placed this song in that playlist, they have that minute where they're like, I don't know where this is going. All right, well, I'm going to skip to the next song. So if you can capture them with, you know, I'm not saying that you should, you know, just completely sacrifice everything. Oh, I got to have the vocal come in at minus 2.8 seconds. I thought the intro, for instance, you start off with just the beat, right? So you have the beat just cranking off by itself. You have two different versions. I would be okay if this was the club version or a DJ release version. But for a radio release, I would totally, and when I mean radio, I'm also meaning like Spotify, iTunes, you know, a commercial release. I would go straight to gotta get over, little samples, maybe that for like 8 bars or 4 bars, and then creep right in with the vocal. Because I'm going to be honest with you, it was okay. And then when she crept in, I was like, oh, dude, this is great. And she's even got a great melody in there. It's a great performance all the way through. So you want to be able to captivate the audience and take them on a journey as quick as possible. And I know it's sad, but, you know, we came from a time where we would put on a record, sit back and enjoy that experience. But now just the way everybody's consuming, streaming and doing everything, it's just like to kind of make way through that. And once you get their attention, that you can take them to where the rest of your music is living at, and they can go on the experience you intend them to go on. But I think all around, that's the big thing that sticks out to me with this Tom is definitely want to release another version where the vocals introduced sooner and you're laying out the foundation and the groundwork for this song. Does this make sense, guys? What do you think? Yeah, it's a cool song, good vibe. Unfortunately, like if I just heard, you know, that beat and if all I had to go off of was the 30 seconds of that, I didn't get time to hear the real juicy meat of that. So something to consider, guys, when you're working on things like this. Yeah, whack them across the heads. I know it's unfortunate, and I'm not trying to play into the whole ADD of, oh, since everybody's ADD, I got to cater to them. No, you still stay true to your music making process. You know, stay true to that. I'm not asking you to compromise who you are as an artist and even the way you want to express yourself through your music. Remember, this is from my experience of working in the commercial pop world. I would know that for sure if I handed this track to an A&R and a record company, they'd be like, dude, cut that down. I want to hear the vocals sooner. So that's my mentality. That's where I'm coming from, thinking of that way. So, yeah. All right. So let's go on to our next song. So we're going to go to our next song. Great job, Tom. Consider that even working on next upcoming things. So the next one is from Fleming and or Alexander. Alexander Hofbauer. Sorry if I messed that up. And the song is called Alter Ego. So let's just take a listen and we'll give some feedback. You guys doing all right here in the world of Zoom? Is this working out? This is the first time I've used this thing. Just trying to make sure this is working okay. I know some of you are having audio trouble. Apologize, but this was the best platform I could find out there that will allow me to do this. So we'll work throughout the kinks. We'll get it better down the road. But thanks, guys, for your patience. I really appreciate it. So here we go. All right. Wow. That really just kind of caught me by surprise. Dope. Yeah, that's really, really dope vibe. So first off, I think soundscape and sound selection is such a big, important thing. And you guys can see it all coming together here. Fleming, I think you did a great job of just choosing the right sound palette, coloring with the right colors here. Everything, there's no mistake about it that this is like, you took me down to like Stranger Things meets like Terminator 1 meets with like probably every dope, Blade Runner, like I went to the 80s straight ahead when that beat came in. And that's, yeah, Ninja Gaiden, all that. It's just, you painted well. And that's something to consider. Now, if you guys are like, man, my stuff doesn't sound that way, that's fine. What I'm trying to grab from this, listening to this track, is realizing the importance of sound selection and knowing like, okay, what captivated me about that genre of music that I really want to get into. And so, I remember speaking to Fleming and several other members before months ago. And a lot of, if you can go back to our Q&As, I talk a lot about using reference tracks. So if you're not familiar with like where to go with your music or how to get, like if you're struggling with, how do I find the right sounds to get the same feel that Fleming kind of, not maybe the same type of music, but how do I just find the right sound so that everything just kind of feels like what I'm going after, right? Well, man, using a reference track, like maybe grabbing 2 or 3 songs that are in the vein that you're trying to get in, putting them in the actual session, and then soloing the reference track, and then going back to your stuff and really paying close attention to like, okay, to the details. Like, here's how I start with reference tracks when I first started. So I would put a reference track in my project and I would listen and I would go, okay, I'm going to focus on the bass line, only the bass line. What are they doing to their bass? And how can I get my bass close to that? I just kind of zero in. Okay, next, the drums. What are they doing in their drums? Is it reverb? Is that? I'll just go crazy. And I would spend weeks just trying to figure out how to replicate that. Because once I have it down, it's inside my second nature. I got it in the back of my head. I know how I can revisit those tools anytime I want. So sound selection is such a big part because it's what really paints the picture. If you're painting in neon colors and you're trying to be really subtle and you're trying to just paint like a vase, it's going to be really bright. So you want to make sure you have the right colors and the right tones. So here, a couple of things. Fleming, really quick before I move on to the next song. The bass line, that theme, when you come in, you have this bass line progression, which is great. I love the change you have there. But you don't repeat that on the second half, when we get to like maybe like a minute or so, you don't repeat that baseline progression. I like that to be like the core progression. So if you're not here and if you're watching this on the replay, you might want to use that as a core progression to cement the thing, and then just drop things in and out. So go back, filter out the arpeggiator, and please put some dope M83 type vocals on this. If you want to keep it instrumental, that's cool. But I think just even like a vocal phrase or something like that will take it to the next level, take it to the top, and give something, to really kind of go in there all. I know this is a short little idea. Would love to hear this finished and see where you take it. Fleming, if you're here, let me know if that makes sense. And then, yeah. All right. So cool. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. And then what I'd like to do is after we hear the next three, I want to give you guys an opportunity, some Q&A, some live questions on the spot. So let's move over to our next one here. So the next one is by Tyler Dahi. Dale. Oh, Tyler Dale. Sorry. I need to learn to read. All right, so it's called Feel It. So let's see if we feel it. So here we go.
No fear can hold you, yeah, you're breaking free. You don't belong here, can you feel it, feel it? Without a tether, you might lose your way. Uncertain future makes you want to stay. I beat the tempest, holding back no more. Push past my limits, can you feel it, feel it? No room to run here, now you're letting go. Return to stardust and I'll guide you home.
I'm gonna stop there. Tyler, I'm digging the vibe. I'm totally digging where you're headed. A couple things now, and it was just like it was really just stabbing me in the jugular here, and that is the timing of the vocal delivery. Big thing. So I think the opening, I think the arrangement that you have laid out so far, like even in the first half, is great. I think that's a really good arrangement for stuff in this lane. I think what's important that vocal performance is it's right behind the beat. So kick drum is 1, 2. I mean, I can't even do. I'm trying to like replicate it, but I can't do it without. It's a little bit behind the beat, so you definitely want to make sure that that's in time there. Also, vocal melody wise, the phrase is great, but having that consistently all the way through, it already diminishes the value of that great melody line. And this is something you guys have to consider. The melodies that we create vocal with our vocals or any instrument, the lead melody that we're going to be using to take the listener on a journey, there's certain characteristics that make it really stand out. And that is that it takes the listener on a journey. We're doing peaks and then we're doing valleys. We're doing syncopation and we're doing some long hits. So there's difference there. We want to add dynamics with our vocal approach. If you're still doing la no 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 for the feel down, right? But if that's the do do no no for the feel down, that's cool. That's your phrase. Yeah, I know I sound like a dying yak, but just deal with it for a second, guys. Bear with me. It's the octopus milk. That's the phrase. So if you continue that over and over again, now you're devaluing what that awesome phrase. So if you do that maybe one more time, great. But now the next phrase should probably jump into like, and I would do it, right? Something that deviates from that, maybe a little bit more rhythmic, that can build off of that. Just a little stepping away from that vocal melody and then go right back into that thing to close it off and have something different for the drop or for that breakdown section. And that's really what transforms something like this to a, next level commercial song. It really does come into breaking those to those vocal melodies. So that is the number one key. That is honestly what's going to elevate this to the next level. Now, I noticed that when you came in with the drop, you had some chord progressions. There's some stuff that's clashing there. The bass line, the bass line's not going in the right direction. You have the bass line moving somewhere, deviating from where the chords are actually going. So you might want to check that out. Have the bass line follow along with the chord progressions. I personally would have loved the chords to have just gone in another direction, but it's fine to where you have it. Just check the bass. I know that the bass is not aligned with where the chords are going. That's another important thing too. You can experiment with the bass, and I'm actually currently right now working on our music theory course that we're going to be uploading soon. So I'm doing a music theory with music no theory. Pretty much, I want to make it as really plain, simple, crazy stuff with music theory and how to know where your bass line should be moving when creating chord progressions, or how to come up with clever ways that your bass line should be moving with chords. So if that's something you guys are interested in, let me know in the chat. If not, I'll just delete it right now. Just kidding. I won't do that. Yeah, that's the next course we're working on now, some music theory. So hang tight. But all around, good deal. Let's go ahead and move on to our next one. Next one is from Borislav. So here's his song called Cool Kids, and we'll jump right into it. All right, so let's take it from the beginning.
I wanna see you with the lights on, then you can tell you're with the right one. Oh, let's make it jailbreak. Been doing hard time, and them prison guards ain't watching us. I know you want it. I know exactly what you need in your life. Just get in the moment, then say you want it by the look in your eyes. 'Cause so take me to where you lie.
So this is great. I mean, Borislav, this is awesome. I mean, this is great all around. I mean, I really don't see anything tweak wise. And this is I'm glad that we played this next, because this is a great example of what I was referring to back in the other song. So you had the first initial vocal phrase, and then they jump to a different phrase there, and then we have the vocal phrase have the little vocal sampling going on throughout the drop. So yeah, I mean, anything that I would suggest for this is going to be now me having a personal preference. This is now not principle, but now personal preference, where I'm like, all right, this or that. But all around it, if I had to weigh this up to a major laser, I mean, the production is pretty much there, where it's all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, the checklists are filled out. This is just going to be is there something that now it's just all in the vocal melody? Does it blow me away? Is it great? And on a 1 to 10, this is probably a 7.5. Is it a 10? Not there. And that's the power of having that great melody, that the thing there. But I think all around, really good job. I mean, the auto-tune's a little too much for my personal taste, but I mean, it works out. So Borislav, if you're here, let me know if this makes sense. I think you did all around a great arrangement, great layout. Felipe is saying, I thought the drop could be more intense, maybe with more cutoff. Yeah, like I said, now these are little nitpick things to not really just bend backwards over. I think I think it could just, yeah, that's all around good job, man. And looking forward to hearing a lot more from you. So definitely please stay on board. And I think there's a lot of value you can bring to people who are maybe who can collaborate with you. We've got some amazing vocalists, people with some really unique vocals, and just tone that could really be a great asset to your production. So let's move over to our next one. Oh, look at what we have here. We randomly selected Tony, our good friend Tony here, who's been our Beat Academy ninja. So let's check this out, Tone. I'm going all out. I'm not holding back, Tony. Just giving you the heads up. So I'm going in. All right. It's going to be brutal here. I'm going to go crazier. Here we go.
Yeah. Uptown fun, I'm seeing colors in the sun. I'm only human for a while. It makes me smile. It makes me smile. Uptown fun, I'm seeing colors in the sun. I'm only human for a while. It makes me smile. It makes me smile. Seeing colors in the sound, I'm painting pictures with my mind. It makes me smile. It makes me smile.
All right. So Tony, you ready? No. Honestly, man, really cool vibe. Definitely, it definitely makes me think of the Pharrell happy type thing. I'm not sure if you were vibing with that or that's what like your reference was. So let's go over a couple of things. So I like that you start off with the vocal melody at the beginning. You're introducing the chorus, and it's good. You've got the bass line, though, moving a little much, and it's not giving me a definite progression of like, it's good. I mean, it's there, but then the bass drops out after 8 bars, and then it doesn't come back in for a while. Let me have that in there because I need that bass to anchor your vocal melody. Without the bass and hearing the changes that it's making, the vocal melody gets lost. Guys, remember that when we are composing melodies, the melody is anchored to the harmonics of everything else. The instrumental become the harmonics that support the melody on top of that. So it's important that if you have an element such as a chord progression or a bass line, and if that's out and the melody's naked in the front, well, that's exactly what it is. It's naked. And people are like, oh, snap, I need to put my pants on, right? So support the melody with the progression and things under there. It's okay if you've already established that. Maybe for a bridge, it just strips down, but that's for later on because you've already established it. So that's the thing. I need that bass line to anchor. Also, you've got the vocal melody just riding out all the way through. So you've got, hey, oh, no, it makes me smile. That's cool. Now, leave that alone. That's the chorus. Slap your hand and go to a new vocal melody. Either break it up, go to something else different so it differentiates that phrasing and that performance as here is my chorus melody. Bam, I'm locking it in place. I'm going to go into something else. Now, if you're struggling with I don't know where else to go, we'll definitely start playing off with some of the pockets. So if you guys are struggling with where do I go with my vocal melody, I've got something already laid down. Here's an idea or whatever melody. Try to play off opposites. If what you're doing here, make you smile. So it's very syncopated. So you could either now go to something that's less syncopated. So 1, 2, 3. And I know it to be too low. I found you to the low. Right? Where it's different. It goes somewhere else. But you're letting us know this is the melody. and then I'm going to take you somewhere else. Remember, you're always trying to take somebody on that journey when composing those melodies, and that's a big important thing. Let the bass cement that, and then when you come back in with everything, bring the horns, bring the pianos, and bring more instrumentation to announce the chorus melody again. Now, you're gonna have to give me public. By the way, I get 12% publishing on all these melodies. No, don't worry about it, guys. But yeah, does that make sense, Tony? Does that make sense to everybody on board who's listening to this? It's important that we are really, and it's this notion of you want to add value to these performances that you're placing in there. You don't want to rob from one by continuously placing it over and over on loop. And I know a big struggle is sometimes we get into this notion of you know, I've just got this riff or this idea. I don't know where to go. And so it really does play a big part. You strip away value the more times it's just being looped and playing over and over. So to add the value to that, you make it rare, right? Like that's what makes a certain type of diamond expensive or a certain type of gold rare. It's that the item is rare. There aren't much of it around. You know, so you want to treat specific pockets of your melodies the same way. If you're repeating that part of the melody over and over, well, you've devalued it, and so you want that to be the earworm. Not saying that you're going to have the chorus play over again. That's fine. I mean, you're going to play the chorus maybe even 4 times or 5 times throughout the song. But if the chorus melody is the main anchor throughout the whole song, that's what I'm talking about. So you definitely want to be able to get through that by not stripping away the value of your vocal melodies. I thought this was really awesome. Let's open up for some Q&A. It could very well be about anything that I've covered earlier or anything on your mind, or maybe about the octopus milk, you know, where I farm it, where I go to get it, all that stuff. I'm going to take these off. I don't really need it now. But yeah, so in order to ask your questions, just hit the Q&A box below and we will we'll deal with that. First of all, no, I'm not going to open up the octopus. Was this helpful for you guys? Was this something that you thought was beneficial to you? Let me know, because I wanted to experiment with this whole listening session thing. I thought it would be helpful, but again, I don't know. You guys are the members. You guys can tell me more, so how I can best serve you. So you let me know if this was cool, if this worked out well for you guys. Awesome. I plan to, so yeah, this is going to be now implemented. So instead of our beat critiques, we'll be doing this. So we'll do a live Q&A, and then we'll do a whole listening session like this. So we're going to be doing this every month. So I just wanted to make sure. So let's dive into some Q&A here. And then we'll go ahead and there you go. Okay. So this question comes from Augustina, and she's asking, they're asking, hi, I would like to know what I can do to fill my track. So I write a 4-bar piano loop using any scale. I make a drum beat for it, a bass line, and that's it. After that, I can sing a melody to it, but it feels too stale and empty. I would love to know what to add. Also, I would love to learn about placing chords differently instead of one chord at the beginning of each bar. It sounds too boring. Okay, so let me answer that. So a great question, and I think covering a little bit similar to what we just talked about. I talked about earlier how you can, you know, with color, with finding the right colors to paint with. I think a really important thing for you to start doing is implementing reference tracks. I know I say that a lot, but guys, that is such a big tool. That is like one of the biggest keys that helped me go to the next level, is because I started just queuing in as to what are they having? What is it that, because I'll tell you what, some tracks, all they have is just a piano and a vocal and maybe a llama dying in the background. But what I'm saying is there is no set formula as to you need to have drums, you need to have a bass, you need to have a piano, and now your song's complete. There is none. You are, whatever you're allowing yourself to broadcast the message that you're trying to share with the world, it could just be you on a guitar. Ed Sheeran is a great proof of that, right? The guy is going on a world tour with just him and his guitar. So it's not about the amount of instrumentation. It's just having the right sounds to choose from, the right vocal melody, the right presence that you're performing with. So I would use any references. I would use some references that are in that lane, that are in that lane, and then just use that to springboard off of, okay, like, how did they get there? It could be a mix thing. Maybe they have a great reverb. So definitely try using that to implement, to solve those questions. All right. Isaiah Brown is asking, Isaiah Brown is asking, has my track been submitted? I think it has, but the way I chose the tracks today is I used a number generator, and I just randomly chose. I personally chose 3 of them, and then the other 3 I randomly selected. I wanted to do 6 for our first time around to see if that gone through. So if I didn't get to your track today, guys, don't lose heart. Be encouraged to submit it for our next time around, and I'll do my best on, even if I can answer them on the forum. I'll try to do what I can. Next question is from Andre Rigau. Rigu? Sorry. Rigu. Okay. He's asking, what is the deal with the octopus milk? Well, if you go watch any of our previous live Q&As, somebody actually, I was drinking water. This is water, by the way. I was drinking water and somebody actually thought that I was drinking octopus milk. And there you go. So you can check out some of the live, some of the previous Q&As, and that'll make more sense for you. All right, Golston, my man Golston, he's asking, M83 type vocals, what are those? So M83 is an artist. It's a group, and they're probably known for Midnight. What is it? Midnight Sun or something like that. I even forgot the name of the track, but some of you guys might know that. It's just an artist. A Midnight City. There you go. I was a Midnight Sun. I'm completely off. So definitely check them out. Really cool stuff. And I thought the vocal of that song, Midnight City, would be a great complementary to Fleming's track. So Luzio is asking, do you want to be called Ill or Ivan? Whatever. Ill's fine. I mean, there's less letters there, so you can type in Ill. That's cool too. Ill, Ivan, doesn't matter. But thank you for asking. Alex is asking, Alex Gallego is asking, could you talk please about the mix in the song Smile and how to improve it? Okay. Let's spend time on talking about the mix there. So the song Smile by Tony, I thought mix was all right, but once again, it's going to be a sound selection. So I thought the bass patch itself, the bass could use a lot more beef in the bottom end to cover a lot more about that. We could use some panning, give a little bit of room, let the horns maybe pan a little bit to the right or left, whichever is your taste, so that you're making room for any of the elements that are in there. A lot of times things could be solved by just moving things a little bit to the left and to the right, so you give some space for some elements that live comfortably in the middle. So that's, I would start off there. And again, the arrangement, when the bass is going all the way through, it'll fill up the track a lot more. There were some parts where the bass wasn't there, and so when the bass is gone, you feel it, and so you want to be able to make sure you're kind of just covering that. And then let's see, I would have to listen to it again on the spot to kind of give more of details, but those are the first things that kind of jumped out at me, Alex. Does that make sense, guys? You can let me know in the chat. I'm seeing the chat roll right now. It's a little different than our old webinar jam, but yeah. All right, here's a question from Agustina. Hi, I would like to know what. Oh, I already answered that one. All right, sorry, just pressed the wrong thing again. Okay. So Donzel is asking. So here's another question. Wow, a lot of great questions. I actually like Zoom, the way they have it here. It's really helpful. Okay, so Davis is asking, I got some good tips on my newest remix, and I went back to fix it from the start. I had an minus 18 dBFS overall master starting point. My LRA was at 1.7 to begin. What did I do? I don't know. What did you do? What did you do, Dunzel? Yeah, well, Donzel, you're here, obviously. You might want to let me know what you're using on your master bus. Now, just for everybody who might be hearing this is like, what is he talking about? Is that like some kind of Matrix talks? Is he talking Matrix? Yeah. Neo. Well, Donzel, yeah, here's the thing. I kind of stick to these rules, all right? So if without anything on the master bus, if you can kind of get it to where the RMS, right, the average volume is somewhere close to like -12, around there. If you can get the average volume to -12, you're okay to use your limiter or a little bit of compression on the limiter to kind of bump it and keep the RMS maybe like to, close to like, for a remix or something, maybe -6, or like, RMS at -6 or -5 or -6 is great. Just keep it there, and true peak at like -0.5. So just kind of start off of there, and if you're in, and just go off of what's really gonna feel right and sound good to you. All right, don't go too much by the numbers, man. Just go by the musical taste you're adding to your music. I think right now we're really getting caught up in this whole number race. Even the video I did earlier on my YouTube, kind of regret doing this whole mastering thing by the streaming. Technically, yes, you have -14, -14 LUFS. That's where Spotify caps their loudness. But in reality, I would choose what's going to feel musically right to me, than just go strictly by the numbers. So always kind of keep that in mind. All right. Great question, by the way. Alex Gilad is asking, how do you get discovered by a singer so they hire you to produce their song? That's a great question. How do you, as a producer or as anyone working on their craft and making their music, how do you link up with other people? Well, the first step is definitely you got to polish the craft, right? You got to work at it, and you got to spend the time and invest the time in building the right foundation. A lot of times people want to build a home when the foundation has cracks all in it. And so they think, okay, I got some beats, I've got some loops, I got these things. All right, now let me go out and do all these other things. Let me go get the fans. Let me go and do these things. I'm trying to build a home, but yet the foundation isn't set in right. And what tends to happen is when the roof starts caving in and when all the windows start to just not function properly and all this stuff, they're upset at what happened. So I would just take the time to lay down the foundation first. That's the first step. Work on the music, work on the craft, get it to where it's like, okay, I feel comfortable where I'm at. Now, if you're there, that's a great place to be. And then when you're there, I would actually start looking towards adding the value to some of those artists. So I would first start off with artists that you can help bring along, that you see potential in, and then you can come alongside and say, hey, look, I think you've got great potential. Let me just kind of help you up. I would love for you to be featured on one of my tracks. So you can even scour the land of SoundCloud and find some talented artists, talented singers, locate them even in your area, or just you can use vocalizer.com, vocalizer, I think it's like this, vocalizer.com. And just, that's more of like a singer for hire type thing. But if you're, what has worked for me in my path in this industry is that I've been able to just find artists. I do what I do. I bring what I can bring to the table. I add that value. I find artists that I can develop and work with. And then that's how I was able to get the heads of like, Jimmy Iovine from Interscope and things like that. Like I can get their heads to turn and look towards what I'm doing because I'm investing in someone. So, So that's what I would start off doing. And then once you start doing that and start developing some artists and finding people that you can partner up with and having products there, then you could use that as a great portfolio to move forward towards having people be like, hey, I kind of like what you're doing. Then that transitions you to becoming more magnetic, and you're pulling people in. And that's what you want to do. Does that make sense? So, all right, guys, we've got time for a couple more questions. Yeah, it's hard. And I'm reading your comment. Darren is saying, look, I'm having a hard time here in the UK. I've been trying to get a singer for over 3 years now, and everyone in the UK. I get that. Look, one of the hardest things about saying what I'm saying is that it comes off as this one size fits all, right? I'm just sharing with you what I've learned, and not just from my experience, but from experience from other professionals in my network in the industry. These are just the common denominators, the common things that the trends, right? But one thing I've always noticed from a successful artist than somebody who's like, that just doesn't break through, is that they just become magnetic. They don't sit on the bench waiting for somebody to tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, you got talent, let me help you out. It's like, okay, I'm going to hit the ground running, and I'm waiting for nobody, and I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to do what it is that I'm doing. And that's it. And they build the right fuel that really the record labels are only interested in pouring gasoline on the fuel. They don't want to spark the flame. Record labels, or even big artists, right? Big major singers or big major artists, they never want to be the person to spark the flame. They just want to be the person that just pours the gasoline on an already existing fire. And so that's what we're called to do. We need to start those fires on our own. We need to go out and just produce those fires. If you got somebody nearby you believe in that you can just develop and have featured on your stuff and bring to the table, great. That's going to put you on a much better platform than just saying, here's my beats, give me money. We're not in this business of, here's my beats, give me money. That's gone, guys. You got to stop with that mentality. We need to grow past that. We need to get in this process of, let me learn the most of I can. I'll tell you what, if some of you are in here and all you ever got was this free 2 months, and I'm going on a limb here, I know this doesn't make good business sense, but if you're here, it's like, let me just soak up the most I can for these free 2 months and get out of here. You know what? If you just learn that, what I share with you in my courses, in my Beat Academy, in these sessions, and you went, good for you. But if you don't apply anything, that's your loss. Okay. I can only, if you can get all the knowledge in your word. I'm not teaching anything new under the sun. You can get what I'm teaching you elsewhere, but I want to hold you accountable. I want to make sure that I can come alongside you and say, where are you at with what you're doing? Where are you at? Sometimes we just need a little swift kick in the butt to be like, get on it, move forward. Because we can consume all this knowledge and we can be paralyzed and not want to do anything with it. But it's when we start taking our next step forward. Look, it can be overwhelming because you guys are thinking of taking leaps. I'm not asking you guys to take leaps. I'm not asking you to be like, wow, dang, I don't got a Grammy-nominated song. Just take steps, okay? Today, I made a beat. Next week, I arranged the song. Next month, I completed 2 songs. I would be more proud and encouraged by that than I know exactly what to do to get hired by so-and-so, but I'm not going to move a finger to do it. So sorry for my crazy rant here, but I hope that encourages you guys. So yeah, let's do a couple more questions and then we'll go forth. Andres is asking, this is Andreas Yiko Momatos. I probably really butchered that, so I'm sorry. If a song has lyrics only in the chorus, verses are instrumental, is it okay to vary the lyric in each chorus? The title line remains the same in every chorus, just the other lines vary. I don't know. I mean, there's no rules to it, but most likely if commercial songs and songs that are really like earworms in people's minds and commercially, I would leave the chorus exactly the way it is, because if I have to learn a new line every time, then the melody could stay the same, but then, you know, just having it as easy as possible to memorize and sing along with makes it really stick well. So Blake Ehrenhart is asking, when you're creating an instrumental, how much room do you leave for vocals? Do you generally create stuff intended for vocals? Man, that's a great question. All right, so my thought process is, and so I had a session here yesterday. So I had the artisan, so I was working on a beat from scratch, and a lot of times it's so useful for me to have like an artist in the place or a writer here, because it doesn't take much to spark inspiration. I could just come up with a drum beat and maybe a chord progression, and I can kind of feed off of their body language or feed off of them and be like, you vibing with this? You're cool? And they're like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And I'm like, great. So it kind of holds me accountable for not going overboard. So here, like my kind of PowerPoints are, as long as I get like a progression down, maybe like a bass line, that kind of gives me the preliminary basics to be like, okay, let's get a melody here. If I can get a melody down, then I kind of know. And also too, like if I'm scoring, like for instance, so two scenarios. So I'm scoring for a video game where there are no vocals in there. How do I know when's too much? Well, again, is the central idea being broadcasted? Is the central idea being shown? Could be the bass line, the drums, and chords, right? Bam. So I want to make sure I get the basics covered, and then I move on from there. So I always keep that in the back of my mind while I'm making a beat. Maybe sometimes I'll make this crazy, you know, off the wall beat that might not have room for a vocal. And if I try to put a vocal in there, I'll be like, okay, let me just solo drums, bass, and the chords, or let me just solo drums and the bass line or the 808 bass, and just see if I can fit a vocal on top of that. And then I start stripping things away. So does that make sense, guys? I hope it does. So yeah. So really, really excited. So guys, we'll wrap it up for today with this. Really amazing questions. How do you guys feeling with this? Has this worked out all right? Has this worked out? You know, Daniela like, no. All right, you know, we'll get 3 more questions. Is that cool? We'll do 3 more questions. Yes, maybe. No, nobody wants 3. Yes, okay, 3 more questions. All right, we'll do 3 more. Danielle Espita, you're up next. So Danielle is asking, what can I do if my synths sound too toyish? I don't know if the term is right. Which synths do you use on GG Rose? Give it away. So I used Silent on GG Rose. You know, that's a great question. It's a really good question because it puts a spotlight on, do I need more gear? Do I need more plugins to sound professional? And you know, the answer, you know what I'm going to say. The answer is no. As you can see, a lot of the YouTube videos that I create for the channel to bring awareness of Beat Academy, I purposely try to use stock instruments for the encouragement, not to toot my horn and say, oh, I can do it, but for the encouragement to say, oh, I can use what I have. And so more than using specific patches or trying to get like, you know, now granted, there are some amazing, you know, Serum is great, you know, Silent Massive. These are amazing tools because they have some unique features and functions inside them that are great. But again, if your foundation is cracked, if you have no idea of waveforms, how to manipulate waveforms, of what is a sine wave, what is a triangle, what is a cutoff filter, if you have no idea what that stuff is, you're building a house on a broken foundation. So get to know those simple principles, even using the same simple tools you have at hand. If you're using Ableton, use basic stuff that comes with your program. Studio One, Logic, whatever you got, use what you have at hand. Get familiar with that. You should be able to get that. So to answer your question, how do you make your synth less toyish? Well, one of the things, you want to try implementing some effect processing. So that's using some delay, some reverb, A lot of times the Silent and the Serum, the reason why those patches sound great is because they're loaded with like dimension, chorus, distortion, delay, and reverb. And when you touch it, you're like, oh, it sounds like the Holy Grail. So you might want to do a lot of processing on some of that. Try adding some reverb, try toying around with some delay, try adding some overdrive on your patch. You'd be surprised with the results that you're going to be getting. Also, you might want to implement some layering too. You might want to take that same melodic run you're doing with one sound and then maybe layer it with another sound, same exact MIDI line, and then layer it and then go off of that. So I hope that helps. So we'll go ahead and that's Macaulay Kolker. Sorry, I'm off it today. Macau is asking, what is the easiest way to record a choir? Just a simple pop choir to support the chorus, or a catchy phrase for people to sing along live? What is the smallest number of people? That's a great question. And so one of the best ways to do it is if you can get a gang of maybe three people, get your neighbor, get your auntie, get that weirdo at the office that you don't really get along with. Just get three or four people in a room, set the mic in the center, get the headphone there so they can all know when to come in, just like theirs. You can hold it, put the headphone up a little bit. And what you want to do is you want to do stacks. You want to do about 4 to 8 takes of with those 3 people, right? So you're going to do your first melody, right? Lead vocal. And then what you do is you do some gang vocals. That's what I call gang vocals. So what I'll do is I'll have those 3 people sing that line once. Okay, that's take 1. Then I'll have them do it again. All right, that's take 2, and so on and so on. So you do it about 4 or 5 times, and then what you want to do is you want to pan, each one left, right, hard left, hard right, hard left, hard right. Definitely check out the vocal production course on how I stack vocals. That course will walk you through a lot of those stuff as well. So that's how you can pretty much get that to that big sound. All right, we're going to wrap up with this last question, and we'll end it here. So questions coming from William Bracey. He's asking, question, was the audio heard during the listening session coming through your monitors or an input for us to hear today? Yeah, great question. So the reason why I'm using Zoom for our meeting today is Zoom allows me to use my native sound card so whatever is being heard on my computer within the audio engine, it's a loopback, can be sent over to you guys. I tried doing this through Webinar Jam and it was just a mess. I tried other couple programs and this was like the best platform. I'm pretty sure there's some better ones out there. I'm just not aware of them. I'm just continuously looking for more ways to, bring value to you guys. But that's how I'm doing that. So, all right. Well, guys, ladies and gents, was this helpful for you? Yes. Awesome. Lucas says yes. Alex says yes. I liked it. I think this was really cool. I think this was awesome.